It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah
on 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me. Good morning. It is Wednesday, May 28th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning. We'll see rain late this afternoon, high 65. Tonight and overnight showers, low 57. And then Thursday, just clouds, high 74. If you're walking out the door with us right now, 57 and cloudy in Valley Cottage up in Rockland County. It's 56 and raining in Freehold over in New Jersey. And it's 61 and clear right outside our Midtown studios.
The top 5 at 5.
The MTA wins another congestion pricing battle. Shoppers run for cover in a Connecticut. Let's try that again. Can you give me that swoop again if you don't mind? Are you able to do that? There we go. Connecticut. No, let me try that again. Go ahead. Hit it one more time. Shoppers run for cover in a Connecticut mall. The Knicks are on life support. The search is on for a Bronx girl who's up to no good. Musicians battling out to play live in PATH stations. All right, let's get into it. 5:01 up to Connecticut. 5 people injured in a shooting last night. Well, it was really last evening, I guess, at the Brass Mill Center Mall in Waterbury, Connecticut. A person of interest in custody. The bullets flew. This was about 5 p.m. and what started as some sort of conflict between 2 people. So this was no big terror event. So I guess that's the good news. But bad news is 5 people shot. 1 person opened fire, sending shoppers running for cover, sheltering inside stores.
I tell everybody, get out of here. Go, let's go. Let's go. I try to get everybody out of here in safety. Like a girl got shot and then she was like losing a lot of blood and it was crazy.
Yeah, you can hear the panic in his voice. 5 adults hit by gunfire rushed to a local hospital. All of the victims, thank God, are expected to survive.
I believe this started as a conflict and it escalated. We do know that there was 1 gunman at this time we've identified. That gunman was armed with a semi-automatic pistol.
Now, investigators believe the gunman may have had an accomplice. We couldn't get any confirmation of that as we came to air, so there may be a second person they're looking for.
We do not believe this was a random act of violence. We believe this started as a conflict and it escalated.
Local police were working with the FBI and ATF after the suspect and possible accomplice fled. It was the officers up in this small town, Connecticut, went store by store to escort terrified shoppers out to say, hey, it's okay to come out.
It's really amazing to watch people in this time of crisis keep cool heads and follow plans and shelter in place.
Yeah, so gunman in custody. Governor Ned Lamont calling the shooting a tragic mass shooting in a place where everyone should feel safe, of course, at a mall. Waterbury, if you're unfamiliar, it's located about 30 miles southwest of Hartford in Connecticut. 5:03. Let's bring it back here to New York. Supporters of congestion pricing winning another extension yesterday in court, and this time they got a federal judge to order the Trump administration to stop threatening New York of taking away funds. Judge Louis Lyman, who was appointed by President Trump in his first term, issued this temporary restraining order that'll last through June 9th. He says for the next 2 weeks, Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, other top officials are what they are called enjoined from withholding federal funds. Basically, it just means you can't threaten New York with money over congestion pricing, which is what they've been doing. The MTA has been banking on revenue from congestion pricing to pay for billions of dollars in subway and bus projects. Now, Duffy was the one who threatened to revoke that key funding if the toll wasn't dropped. So the MTA celebrating this judgment yesterday. I mean, it's only through June 9th, but they'll take what they get. Here's MTA Chair Jano Lieber.
That's good news for the state. It's good news for New Yorkers who are benefiting from congestion pricing.
So Charlie Roberts is the attorney for the U.S. government. He said they'll comply with any ruling from the bench. Aside from the order, the judge did not state when he would issue a final ruling on the legality of congestion pricing, but he did ask both sides to go get their paperwork in order as fast as possible, meaning there might be some judgment coming soon. Outside the courthouse, you had local lawmakers who had been pushing for congestion pricing since last year celebrating as well.
These attacks on congestion
pricing are an attack on New York's sovereignty.
The car crashes are down, bus ridership is up, subway ridership is up. Not only is congestion pricing on strong legal footing, not only is congestion pricing working to reduce congestion and invest in our subways and transportation, but congestion pricing increasingly is popular.
Okay, so those are the lawmakers. Here are the drivers. They're not on the same page. Some of them are, but some are rooting on President Trump and Sean Duffy, saying, hey, it's time to get rid of this $9 toll.
I don't like it. No, it's extra money. It's more money out of my pocket.
Yeah.
You know, I want Trump to cancel it.
Some blackmail right there, but, whatever.
They waste a lot of money, and maybe they should see what's going on, where all the money's going. I don't think that congestion pricing, we should take that money and give it to the subways.
I agree with it because it's out of control. It's got to be a limit somewhere,
Okay, it all comes as data from April shows 12% fewer vehicles entering the congestion relief zone. But I can tell you, because I'm one of those people who goes in and out of the congestion zone every single day, that in the beginning, it was amazing. I could get through Midtown in felt like seconds. I've noticed it's almost back to what it was before congestion pricing. That is only me, but I find that it takes me a while to get cross town, so that $9 toll is not as great as it once was.
The first 2 weeks, I saw a difference.
Yeah.
Like less cars.
Hey, that was me. Yes, me too.
Everything. After that, it became the same every single day.
It makes my life easier. Mm-hmm. I've been noticing for the last month or so. Let's see how it plays out.
Okay, all right. He's still saying that it's okay. The Pacers are on the verge of making the NBA Finals. Oh, it kills me to say that. It kills me that I stayed up to watch the game last night. Knicks lost 130-121, Game 4 Eastern Conference Finals in Indianapolis last night. Tyrese Halliburton, just incredible. I think 32 points, 15 assists, 12 rebounds. He just took apart the Knicks. Jalen Brunson had a pretty good game, 31 points. Wasn't not enough. Tom Thibodeau, the guy who always a big smile on his face, says turnovers, big problem last night.
The first quarter was problematic. That set the tone for the game, giving up 43 points, and then you turn it over against them, particularly the live ball turnovers. You're feeling, transition game.
Yeah, Jalen Brunson says not getting stops was the big issue he thinks for the Knicks last night.
Offensively, the ball was going in, but didn't get enough stops. They came with energy and physicality and set the tone for the game.
Okay, so now this series returns to New York on tomorrow night. That's Thursday, Game 5. And, of course, now they have to win every single game to win we're in this round, the conference finals to get to the NBA Finals. Do you think there's any chance? I don't think there is. I think they just don't look so good. So we'll wait and see. That's Thursday night at the Garden. WABC News Time 5:09. The COVID vaccine no longer being recommended by the CDC for pregnant women and healthy children. The Health and Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., making the announcement in a video that he posted on X yesterday.
Last year, the Biden administration urged healthy children to get yet another COVID shot despite the lack of any clinical data.
Yeah, so previously the CDC had recommended the vaccine for everyone 6 months or older. This comes after the FDA announced last week that new COVID shots would no longer be routinely approved for healthy children and adults.
We're now one step closer to realizing President Trump's promise to make America healthy again.
It is interesting that he made this COVID announcement yesterday, just as we're hearing that there's this new highly infectious COVID-19 strain that has led to a spike in hospitalizations in China. And guess what? Just for fun, it's been detected in the U.S. now, including cases right here in New York City. So this new NB 1.81 variant, first detected in the U.S. in late March of some international travelers arriving at airports in places like here in New York City. CDC telling us right now there are too few cases in the U.S. to properly track the how bad this could be. But experts are warning that the virus run in China shows it spreads more quickly than some other dominant strains of the respiratory infection. Hong Kong authorities actually say this new variant has been one of the worst spikes in cases they've seen in a number of years, with a lot of emergency room visits and hospitalizations there in the last month due to this new variant. 5:11. The Trump administration is pausing student visa interviews now. Correspondent Nick Harper reports the move announced in a cable that was sent to U.S. embassies worldwide yesterday.
The directive, seen by several news outlets and signed by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, said that effective immediately, no new interviews should be scheduled. The cable said it was in preparation for an expansion of required social media screening and vetting.
Oh, sorry there, Nick. The decision comes as the administration considers requiring foreign students to undergo social media screening as a regular thing.
The directive, seen by several news outlets and signed by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, said that effective immediately, no new interviews should be scheduled.
And that happening as the war between President Trump and Harvard University escalating once again. The Trump administration set to cancel the remaining Harvard federal contracts that are worth about $100 million.
This is going to be a battle in the courtroom. If it goes all the way to the Supreme Court, Trump is going to do that.
That's Leo Terrell. He's the head of the Department of Justice Anti-Semitism Task Force. The move comes as the White House has accused Harvard of not doing enough to end anti-Semitism on that Ivy League campus.
We have tolerated anti-Semitism for the last 4 years. And basically the Trump administration, and thank goodness President Trump is in office, Harris, he's not going to tolerate it.
It also accuses the university of racial discrimination in its admissions process while hiring. Leo Terrell saying they're not going to take it anymore, and this is all part of this process in this work against Harvard University. 5:13, over to Canada. King Charles showing his support for Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney's policies during his first meeting with officials as the head of state. The King gave a speech yesterday to Canada's Parliament.
All Canadians can give themselves far more than any foreign power on any continent can ever take away.
His visit to Canada, which is, of course, a member of the British Commonwealth, comes as President Trump has continuously called for the country to become the U.S. 51st state. Charles and Queen Camilla arrived in Canada on Monday. King Charles says it's an important time for Canada and the U.K.
Canada faces another critical moment. Democracy, pluralism, the rule of law, self-determination and freedom are values which Canadians hold dear and ones which the government is determined to protect.
And Charles looked at those lawmakers in the Parliament yesterday during his speech and told them it's time that you believe in yourself as Canadians.
By staying true to Canadian values, Canada can build new alliances and a new economy that serves all Canadians.
And while we're talking about Canadians, President Trump says Canada could pay as much as $61 billion to be protected by his Golden Dome. More from Tammy Trujillo.
Or they could get it for free by joining the U.S. Trump made the announcement on Truth Social Tuesday and claimed Canada very much wants to be part of his proposed missile defense system and said it would cost them $0 if they become our cherished 51st state. His post said Canada is considering the offer. It came just hours after the UK's King Charles made a rare speech in Canada, emphasizing Canadian sovereignty. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
NPR going to sue President Trump now over an executive order to cease all federal funding for the nonprofit broadcaster.
3 other public radio stations filed a lawsuit along with NPR, alleging Trump's May 1st order violates the First Amendment's protections of speech and of the press and steps on Congress's authority. The lawsuit also argues that Congress has long recognized the speech it supports with public funding remains private and thus fully protected from censorship, retaliation, or other forms of governmental interference. The broadcasters are now seeking to have the order permanently blocked and declared unconstitutional. I'm Mark Mayfield.
All right, we know a little bit more about this driver who drove into the crowd at Liverpool's Premier League soccer title parade on Monday. We'll get into that in just a moment. But first, 5:15, let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, where it was another rough night for the Knickerbockers, Justin Ellick.
Indeed, it was Noma Layton, or Indianapolis here. The Knicks fell 130-121 in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Pacers, thanks to 32 points, 15 assists, and 12 rebounds from Indiana's Tyrese Halliburton. putting New York's backs against the wall in the form of a 3-1 series deficit. Jalen Brunson scored 31 points. Karl Anthony Towns had 24 points and 12 rebounds, and OG Anunoby finished with 22 points. But the Knicks couldn't rally from another double-digit deficit. They marked the first time in the series the home team won, and leaves the Knicks one loss away from getting eliminated for the second straight year by Indiana. New York got as close as 6 3 times in the closing minutes, but couldn't get any closer. Game 5 is tomorrow night back home at the Garden. Knicks got to win 3 straight if they want to punch their ticket to the NBA Finals. To the Diamond in Anaheim, Carlos Rodon pitched 7 scoreless innings of 5 hit ball. Devin Williams barely survived a perilous 9th inning to earn his first save since April 17th. And the Yankees' 3-2 victory over the Angels. Williams lost the closer role last month after a shaky beginning to his New York tenure, and he hadn't had a save opportunity since April 25th. Ben Rice and Oswald Peraza homered, and Anthony Volpe had an RBI single for the Yankees, who have won 4 in a row, 8 of 9 and 15 of 19 to surge 7 games ahead of second-place Tampa Bay in the AL East. Rodon tied his season high with 10 strikeouts, didn't walk a batter while winning his 3rd consecutive start. Opponents are batting just .164 against the left-hander, the lowest mark in the majors among qualified pitchers. Up next for the Yanks, Clark Schmidt will get the start in tonight's series finale against the Angels as New York goes for the sweep. First pitch is scheduled for 9:40 p.m. from Anaheim. In Queens, Pete Alonso and Jared Young each hit a 2-run homer in the first inning, and the Mets beat the White Sox 6-4 for their 4th consecutive comeback victory. Tyler McGill recovered from a shaky start, allowing 2 runs in 5 2/3 innings to help the Mets match a season high at 13 games above 500 with their 14th come-from-behind win this season. Francisco Lindor added an RBI single in the 8th. Reed Garrett got 5 outs for his 2nd save, both in the past 3 games. Up next for the Mets, Griffin Canning starts today in a series finale, moved up 6 hours to 1:10 p.m. because of a wet weather forecast. I was supposed to be there at the nightcap, no Laden, but gets moved up. So Justin Ellick will not be in attendance tonight. Or
why don't you go to the game if it starts earlier? That's all right.
Well, there's a lot of logistics that go into getting gifted this very luxurious, sort of box situation,
right?
From the great Pete Morgan, obviously, but So
he told you couldn't come, basically.
Yeah. No, we love Pete. The last night on the ice, and finally here, the Oilers beat the Stars 4-1 in the Western Conference Final. Game 4 there. Edmonton now leads that series very commanding here, 3-1. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
Hey, business owners, make your cash secure again with Secure Cash LLC. Transporting your business's cash safely in armored trucks. SecureCashLLC.com.
WABC News Time 5:20. A British man charged with attempted murder now after a van plowed into a crowd in Liverpool. This was on Monday. We're learning more about this individual. Police say that the incident that injured dozens as they were gathering to celebrate Liverpool's Premier League soccer title had nothing to do with terrorism.
We have a total of 65 confirmed casualties, many of whom required hospital treatment.
So this is what they believe. Police say they believe this driver followed an ambulance that was responding to a report of someone having a heart attack. And this 53-year-old, who they say was probably high on drugs, followed this ambulance and then into the crowd of people celebrating the fact that they had won the Premier League soccer title.
There was no intelligence to suggest an incident of this nature would take place. And as we previously stated, the incident is not being treated as terrorism. It is believed the driver of the Ford Galaxy car involved in this incident was able to follow an ambulance onto Water Street after the roadblock was temporarily lifted so that the ambulance crew could attend to a member of the public who was having a suspected heart attack.
Yeah, just a crazy off moment for a crowd, unfortunately, that was celebrating. 5:22, Tesla sales plummeting in Europe, and analysts say it's in part because of CEO Elon Musk's rhetoric and political activities.
Sales across the continent fell nearly 50% in April compared with last year. That's while overall electric vehicle sales were up more than 30%. Musk drew the ire of some when he endorsed a far-right German political party earlier this year. Protests also broke out at Tesla dealerships as Musk was spending over $300 million to help get President Trump reelected. The company is also facing stiff competition from other automakers, including Chinese manufacturers. I'm Tammy Trujillo.
From overseas, let's bring it back home down to Alabama. Senator Tommy Tuberville launching a bid now to be the next governor of Alabama. He made the announcement on Fox News yesterday.
Today, I will announce that I will be the future governor of the great state of Alabama.
The Republican was elected to the U.S. Senate back in 2020 after receiving an endorsement from President Trump. Before politics, if the name sounds familiar, he was a successful college football coach. Ole Miss, Auburn, Texas Tech, Cincinnati. Tuberville will be running to succeed a fellow Republican, KIV. She can't run for a third consecutive term.
But I'm doing this to help this country and the great state of Alabama. I'm a football coach. I'm a leader. I'm a builder. I'm a recruiter. We're going to stop this illegal immigration. We're going to make education better again. And we're going to do everything possible to make sure our kids, when they've graduated in this great state, the Yellowhammer State, that they stay in this state and work.
WABC News Time 523. The return to office movement is tapering off a little bit, with some high-tech firms moving towards a hybrid approach. They've lost employees who say they want that hybrid approach. Experts say it allows workers to stay in their pajamas a few days a week, but forces them back to their desk in their office the rest of the time.
That would be probably the most ideal for worker satisfaction as well as productivity for the business.
That's Lone Star College economics professor Hank Lewis. He points to surveys showing that at least some time in the office reduces stress and feelings of loneliness. Google is the latest to hop on the hybrid train. Remote workers there are being told that they have to live within 50 miles of an office and show up 3 days a week, which is a pretty good deal. That means 2 days a week in your pajamas.
The disconnected feeling of not being able to interface with people face to face can kind of start to get you down a bit if you're remote for too long.
Yeah, and I think it's hard to move up the ladder if you're not in the office. At least that's been my experience. 525. Texas cities would now be banned from running gun buyback programs under a bill that's getting a ton of support in the state legislature in the Lone Star State. It's supported by gun right groups.
The communities that we see engage in gun buybacks are the most vulnerable communities, folks who have low income, looking to get some extra cash.
So that's Richard Hayes with Gun Owners of America. The bill is one of many that pits local governments against state lawmakers. The state's Republican leadership has spent years trying to rein in these programs, and they say these programs are often run in poorer parts of the city, where they give money and gift cards to people who turn these guns in, but then they no longer have the protection of a gun.
And this doesn't make them any safer. Makes them more vulnerable, more susceptible to attack, and they don't have the means to defend themselves.
So they're pushing state lawmakers to end those programs. 525, things starting to return to normal at most of the nation's airports after the long holiday weekend. There were big crowds. Severe weather led to long security lines and delayed flights right on through Memorial Day. Correspondent Ryan Chandler has more from Dallas, where things were bad over the long 3-day weekend.
We had more than 200 flights delayed at once, with lines at DFW like I have never seen in my life. Some travelers actually saying they're glad their flight was delayed because they never would have made it through the TSA line if it wasn't.
A record 45 million people in the U.S. were traveling by ground and air during the holiday weekend.
At one point yesterday, the vast majority of flights were stuck on the ground waiting to take off. Denver even issuing a ground stop for a brief period yesterday due to thunderstorms. One of their planes getting struck by lightning.
Yeah, that was intense. But things are pretty much back to normal, except Newark, where they still have the issues with not enough workers and the issues, of course, with the high-tech equipment or low-tech equipment that they're using. The summer travel season, of course, is underway, and there are concerns, airport delays due to the shortage of air traffic controllers. President Trump's Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy says he's frustrated, just like flyers are.
I love airports, but I don't want to spend 4 hours in an airport waiting to see if my flight's going to take off.
And he says the shortage of air traffic controllers is at a critical level, but it's going to take some time to train and hire new people.
We're 3,000 short. We've been 3,000 short for some time.
Yes, so you may see these delays for a good portion of the summer. So just get ready as you get get ready to go on the vacation.
We are offering them a 20% bonus up front to stay on the job. Please don't retire.
Yeah, those are people who are thinking of retire. And one country is targeting now inpatient flyers.
Turkey is telling airline passengers that if they stand up too early when landing or crowd the aisle, they could face a $70 fine. Officials said there's been a serious increase in these cases, instructing passengers to wait until that seatbelt sign is turned off. They add it disrupts the orderly exit process and poses safety risks during taxiing. I'm Brian Shook.
It's the 77 WABC News Hour.
Sponsored by Secure Cash, LLC. Talking the news with Noah Layden.
All the news you need to know with Joe Nolan, traffic, Justin Ellick, sports. And now,
Talking the news with Noah.
On 77 WABC.
Yes, that's me, 536. Good morning. It is Wednesday, May 28th. Your forecast from the 77 WABC Weather Center. Clouds this morning. We'll see showers late this afternoon, the high 65. Tonight and overnight, more rain, low 57. And then Thursday, just clouds, high 74. If you are walking out the door with us right now, so happy you are. 57 and cloudy in Valley Cottage up in Rockland County. It's 58 and raining in Freehold over in New Jersey. And it's 60 and overcast right outside our Midtown studios. WABC News Time 538. A 1-month-old infant girl died in her family home after she was mauled by the family dog. This happened in the Queensbridge houses in Long Island City. The newborn was found inside her apartment with her family's German Shepherd. This was about 6:30 a.m. The girl's mother telling detectives yesterday that the baby was sleeping between family members when the dog climbed into the bed and bit the girl's face. Baby pronounced dead at the scene. Neighbors say the baby's mother was visiting her mom at the apartment, wasn't at home at the time of this god-awful attack.
As a parent, you don't expect your pet to attack your child. If anything, that's a pet that you want to see your child grow with, you know.
Neighbors say the family had 2 big dogs, including a pit bull inside this apartment. They say they had made numerous complaints against residents saying that there's been some untrained dogs in the neighborhood. Now, it's not clear if it's these that have caused some issue with children. And so, of course, then this awful incident happens yesterday.
You got to be careful with big dogs like that, you know. And they shouldn't be in the bed with the baby. Even though the dog was a baby itself. But it's how we train our pets.
I hope they could get the help they can get to get out the crisis that they're in right now.
Now we've been told the dog has been removed from that building. Another unfortunate story with a young child. This one, a 1-year-old, rushed to the hospital yesterday after falling from a balcony in a Queens apartment. He fell about 15 feet from this balcony. It was about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, building 52nd Avenue and 73rd Street in Maspeth. A neighbor across the street says she watched the thing sort of happen in slow time. She couldn't get there in time to help him. She says some kids were playing in the driveway and that this 1-year-old may have been trying to get close to the children.
I was like praying for him to wake up, but she was like shaking him, screaming. She picked it up, this little boy, and she was like, "Baby, wake up, baby, wake up." But, you know.
Yeah, when the mom realized what had happened, she ran out of the home, found the child unconscious, in critical condition. Of course, you can imagine she was just frantic, trying to figure out what to do.
I saw it in the exact moment that the baby was just like falling. I just saw the baby on top, like climbing. It was already on top. I didn't know how to really climb, but it was on top. And I think that he was trying to look what the other kids were doing here because they were playing.
EMS rushed the young boy to New York Presbyterian Cornell Hospital. And the good news is we just found out this morning he's been upgraded to stable condition now. So hopefully he will be okay. 541. New York City's Rent Guidelines Board held a rare revote yesterday.
The board decided to keep 1-year leases the same as the previous vote at 1.75 to 4.75% increases. But the 2-year leases had a minor change, with the increases ranging from 3.75 to 7.75%. These tenants, though, are frustrated with the cost of housing and everything else going up.
Here, they just like slap whatever amount of increase they can on us.
Tenants that can't afford their rent, we need more robust tenant rental assistance from the
city, from the state.
The board meets again June 27th to finalize the rent increases, which would start going into effect in October. Lisa Ritchie, 77 WABC News.
WABC News Time 542. Students from 24 high schools walked out of class yesterday in protest of federal policies that they say threaten them and their classmates' future. They gathered. It was a midday rally. Union Square Park spoke out about a variety of Trump administration policies, especially ones they say affect them the most, the strongest. Here's one of the people who organized this rally yesterday.
It's showing kids how to be involved and showing kids how accessible getting involved is.
The fact about deportation, not following due process.
So deportation was the big issue for them yesterday, including this 20-year-old student. You know the story, the plight of this detained student whose first name is Dylan, and we don't know his last name, has been disclosed by his family. It was among many topics that were part of this rally yesterday. He is essentially was going to be deported, but now won't be deported. It's a little confusing.
He was in court with his mother for his court date. He's not a flight risk. They have held him in custody for no reason except to send a message, right? To tell people we can get you anywhere.
Now, Mayor Adams says there's a good reason that he was being held. He was grilled by reporters about this high school student that was arrested by ICE last week.
We don't coordinate with ICE on civil enforcement.
But the mayor noted the 20-year-old student, only identified as Dylan, was not arrested at a school, but last year there was some sort of involvement with a gun, a weapons possession charge. So the mayor says if you carry a gun, we're going to lock you up and ICE is going to show up at your door.
People should really understand that this was not in the school building. I handle what happens in the city. You carry a gun, we're going to lock you up.
Meanwhile, the mayor also announcing new effort yesterday to turn vacant abandoned lots into green space. It's a 5-borough initiative to put more New Yorkers within walking distance of a park.
$30 million in funding. We've begun laying the groundwork to purchase and revitalize potential parks across New York City.
The mayor says $50 million has already been spent over the past 3 years to acquire new park land, including by transferring lands to the Parks Department from other city agencies and buying land from willing sellers that will all be turned into green spaces now.
We're not taking sites from people. If there are willing private sellers, there's a potentiality to get a park built on them or a green space.
545. Let's head over to the 77 WABC Sports Desk, and here's Justin Allen.
Thank you, Noam. Let's start here on the hardwood out in Indy. The Knicks fell 130 to 121 in Game 4 of the Eastern Conference Finals against the Pacers, thanks to 32 points, 15 assists, and 12 rebounds from Indiana's Tyrese Halliburton, putting New York's backs against the wall in the form of a 3-1 series deficit. Jalen Brunson scored 31 points. Karl Anthony Towns had 24 points and 12 rebounds. And OG Anunoby finished with 22, but the Knicks couldn't rally from another double-digit deficit. It marked the first time in the series the home team won and leaves the Knicks one loss away from getting eliminated for the second straight year by Indiana. New York got as close as 6 3 times in the closing minutes, but couldn't get any closer. Game 5 is tomorrow night back home at the Garden. Knicks got to win 3 straight, punch their ticket to the finals, to the Diamond in
Nobody's
Anaheim.
done that, right? Has anybody come back from 3-1? Or is it 3-0 nobody's come back from?
3-0 I believe nobody's come back from. But
3-1 someone
3-1, yeah. 3-1 definitely, for sure. I know LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers did it in the finals. So, the conference finals, that's a different story, but I would imagine so. At least once, for sure.
Not going to happen this time, though, right?
I would really love to sit here, in all honesty, and tell you otherwise, but I don't think they have it in them. I just think the Pacers are better,
So many turnovers last night. I couldn't believe how many there were.
Yeah, and then the Pacers started, kind of towards the end of the game, up big, and they're rushing down the court, shooting these early threes, and the Knicks couldn't really, rebound and kind of work against that. And kind of run the ball. I'm not sitting here acting like I'm an expert on how NBA basketball works, but you gotta play them a little bit closer than you did last night, especially if you're down 2-1. Now you're down 3-1. So you got to come out tomorrow night at the Garden and obviously, win the basketball game. To the Diamond in Anaheim, Carlos Rodon pitched 7 scoreless innings of 5-hit ball. Devin Williams barely survived a perilous 9th inning to earn his first save since April 17th in the Yankees' 3-2 victory over the L.A. Angels. Up next for the Yanks, Clark Schmidt will get the start in tonight's series finale against the Angels as New York goes for the sweep. First pitch there, 9:40 from Anaheim. In Queens, Pete Alonso and Jared Young each hit a 2-run homer in the first inning, and the Mets beat the White Sox 6-4 for their 4th consecutive comeback victory. Up next for the Mets, Griffin Canning starts today in a series finale moved up 6 hours to 1:10 p.m. because of a wet weather forecast tonight. And last night on the ice, the Oilers beat the Stars 4-1. They take a 3-1 series lead in the Western Conference Final, looking to win one more and punch their ticket to the Stanley Cup Finals. That is your Sports Gnome, and I'm Justin Ellick on 77 WABC.
WABC News Time 549. We're learning more about this New Jersey father of 3 who died a hero over the weekend trying to save 2 people whose kayak had flipped in the wind at a lake up in the Poconos. Officers were called into this town, Blakesley, Pennsylvania, after there were reports of individuals in the water. Apparently 20 people staying at this rental property, long holiday weekend. 2 adults go in to get on a kayak. Their kayak overturns, and that's when 40-year-old Michael Bibbin walked into the water to try to get them out. Unfortunately, he did not resurface. A dive team later found his body. The coroner's office pronounced him dead at the scene. And now family members, co-workers responding to what took place over the weekend.
He was willing to help, whether you are on his team or off his team, in the business or not in the business.
Yeah, so Bibbin Michael had actually worked as a nurse until 2020. He decided to change careers, set up a YouTube channel to promote a financial services business venture.
I feel bad, and his wife, and he's got a couple of kids, and it's tragic what happened.
Family and friends have been gathering at the house over the last day to comfort his wife and children.
Really, we are in shock, actually. And I tried to not to cry, but, last 2 days, I couldn't stop thinking about him.
Yeah. 5:51, let's bring it back into the city. The hottest seat in town, well, it was the Knicks, maybe not so much anymore. Apparently, though, it's really the Sean Diddy Combs trial.
If you want to see the Sean Diddy Combs sex trafficking trial up close, you need to leave yesterday because there's no live streaming inside the federal courtroom. People have been lining up the night before, and there have been long lines and long waits. One YouTuber arrived at 5 p.m. the day before, only to find people ahead of him waiting in line. There are around 36 seats for media and the public, and some seats are reserved for Combs' family. The New York Times has even hired professional line holders to wait for their reporters. Lisa G., 77 WABC News.
Yeah, it's totally crazy outside that Lower Manhattan courthouse. 5:52. 2 men have now been charged with kidnapping, false imprisonment, and assault in the so-called Crypto King case.
It was last Friday when Italian crypto investor Michael Valentino Teofrasto Carteron broke free of his alleged captors, John Waltz of Kentucky and William Duplessis of Miami. The claim is both of those men kidnapped the Italian guy, tased him, urinated on him, and threatened his family, even warned they'd toss him from the top of a staircase in a weeks-long ordeal inside a Manhattan townhouse. Police say the kidnappers wanted the Italian man's Bitcoin password, but the victim got free and told a likely very confused NYPD traffic cop what was happening. James Flippin for 77 WABC News.
Out to Long Island in the story we told you about yesterday in Plainview, where a house went up in flames. The dogs inside were killed. Everybody else got out okay. Now police are telling us that fire was purposely set by somebody who lived in the home. His name is Jahan Kia. He's in police custody, or was. He's actually out of police custody now. Other people who lived in this home say they can't believe he started a fire in his own house.
Everything that we all own on the first floor, the second floor, is completely gone. Everything I have. My dogs were killed. He killed his own cat.
Now, police aren't telling us much about a motive here. 2 firefighters, though, suffered injuries as a result of the fire, transported to the hospital for smoke inhalation and burns to their hands. The landlord who owns the house says he knew this guy. He said he did a background check on him and everything turned up A-OK.
Never. Not once. We checked his references. Everything was done.
There's no way. We only knew about a problem yesterday.
So Kia lived in the basement unit for just over a year, but now he's going to face a trial. But in the meantime, he's free.
Very sad what happened.
He doesn't deserve to be free, and he is already.
Yeah, he's been released with an ankle monitor, ordered to undergo a mental health evaluations. 554. Up to the Bronx, the owners of glamorous eyebrow threading in Pelham Bay say they have surveillance video of this young girl who came into their business, asked to use the bathroom, and while she was in the bathroom, she cleaned out everybody's pocketbook, stealing wallets, a necklace, and $1,000 in cash.
I was honestly shocked. She came out, she was hysterical crying, and she said someone came in and robbed.
Yeah, so that was one of the people who realized afterwards when this girl left that they had lost $1,000. I always wonder, who carries around $1,000 in their purse? Seems like a lot of money to carry around.
She just took everything. She stole everything. Now I scared for people. Now I scared. I never scared.
Now, police think this girl may have done this at other businesses, that she may be targeting other businesses because she just looks like a young girl who wants to use the bathroom and then snoops around to see what she can steal.
Just so she gets something back. She's had the necklace for over 25 years. It was a wedding gift, so it's personal to her.
Terrible how a young kid is doing this. Come forward. It's not right. It's not right at all.
Don't think she's going to come forward on her own. There is video of her, but so far police have not caught up with her. Today is apparently National Hamburger Day. Why? I have no idea.
Americans sink their teeth into 50 billion hamburgers every year. That's a lot, about 150 per person. And without the cheese, they're not all that bad for us. According to the Department of Agriculture, one burger has about 250 calories, lots of protein, but a lot of sodium and cholesterol. Today we'll focus on the good. There are deals from just about every burger joint coast to coast. I'm Bree Tennis.
And down on the PATH trains, yesterday they were holding auditions for people who want to perform for PATH riders, like 100 artists showing up to go before these judges in a sort of an American Idol type competition where they'll get to play in PATH stations like Harrison Station, Journal Square, Exchange Place, the Hoboken Station.
Really enriches, the experience. It gives a lot of our customers a look into what the community has to offer.
Okay, so let's hear what some of these artists sounded like. Yikes. I can't imagine she won the competition.
I have the time and I just want to pursue my music. It's always been a passion of mine.
Love to sing. It's something that brings me joy, and if I could do something that makes me happy and possibly entertain other people, why not do it?
That sounds all right. Riders can apparently look forward to seeing at least the people who are good during peak travel times starting next month.
It's a great opportunity to meet new people, maybe to perform in the PATH, to make new friends in the music scenes.
Yeah, I always kind of like seeing those guys underground.
Thanks for listening to the News Hour with Noam Laden. You can hear the News Hour with Noam Laden weekday mornings at 5 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
Hello, folks. Larry Kudlow here. Pay attention, because China is leading the largest anti-American alliance since World War II. One that's already dumped U.S. bonds, grabbed 43 million acres of our farmland, and is plotting to dethrone the dollar. That's why IRA and 401k savers are protecting their savings with gold. Please go to freegoldguide.com/Kudlow or just call 800-621-3908 for your free gold guide on how to protect your wealth with gold 100% tax-free.